And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. Today we are reviewing a Netflix original movie, The Trial of the Chicago Seven. The story of 7 people on trial stemming from various charges surrounding the uprising at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. This film has a ridiculous cast: Eddie Redmayne, Alex Sharp, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, John Carroll, Mark Rylance, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The list goes on. This is Aaron Sorkin's second directorial feature. He is, in my opinion, one of the greatest screenwriters ever. Wrote, obviously, The West Wing. He wrote the screenplay for this and directed this film. And I have a couple of things to say about this film. Obviously, I need to do a review, but first off, I need to say that we had the screener for this for a long while. And I know a lot of reviewers have had this for like 4 weeks, and we've had reviews out there for like 3 weeks at least. But I never understand putting a review out that early before it comes out. So it comes out this Friday. We're doing a review today, so I hope you appreciate that and you appreciate the film. Secondly, this is one of those films I feel like you really need to be in the mood for. One of the reasons why I waited to watch this, because I love court case films, but I knew the subject matter of this one, and I totally knew that it was going to be an emotional ride, and I kind of need to get in the zone, the headspace, to allow myself to appreciate what this is. I knew it was going to be great scripting, a great dialogue, but I needed to be emotionally strong enough to go through what you're going to go through in this film, and I was right. The emotional turmoil that you will feel, the injustices that you see portrayed in this film, it's shown so well through a cornucopia of fantastic actors. The dialogue is on point, as you would expect, but the emotional, the feels that you will go through in this film is immense. I went from being really upset and disturbed to just really angry, and towards the end almost crying. And it's been a long while since a film has been able to emotionally engage me with that kind of rainbow spectrum of feels in a film altogether. And so that should be enough praise for you to go and say, oh, okay, I need to put this on my list. But also bear in mind, if you are easily affected by the injustice, then maybe you want to steer clear of this one, because this is one of those films. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes, so it's quite a marathon. The majority of the film is this court case. You have this judge who seems like he's totally against them. He also seems like he's mentally unstable. And the racism and the systemic politicalness that there is in this is so obvious. And you can't believe what you're seeing. You can't believe what you're hearing most of the time. And you just wish that somebody would say, hang on a minute, that this is not right. But this is the top of the law, and if the top of the law is doing things as wrong as you see in this film, and it's based on mostly fact, I think it's obviously written about the events that happens to the 7, and I think obviously it's massively embellished, but a lot of it is true as to what happened. And so your emotional outrage at the injustices that these people were affected by just kind of will naturally flow out. So it's all about Vietnam and the amount of people that America was sending and conscripting continuously, and to all the deaths, the needless deaths. And so we have the various parties, the Black Panther Party, we have the Students' Party. We have 3 main parties that come together, and they want to, they don't want to riot, but they want to protest what's going on. But obviously there is that day where the police take off their badges and they go and start fighting, and doesn't matter who instigated it, there were lots of deaths and lots of injuries, and it's just a horrible event. And so the court case then is all about these guys having set example for, and the government want to prosecute them to the maximum, to set these guys an example of, don't go against the government. You do what we say, not what we do. Where this film shines is definitely the scripting. I would also say the editing. There's this frenetic beginning of the film where it's edited and very clever cross-cut scenes from one moment to the next moment. You could almost feel like you're watching a Guy Ritchie introduction to this film. So it kind of really hypes you up. It really kind of gets you into the zone of what's going on. There's a mixture of black and white footage to filmed footage, and they kind of, for the first 5-10 minutes, they're doing this introduction to the world of what has happened. Malcolm X, that kind of thing. The Black Black Panthers, all of that leading up to this moment, this court case. Eddie Redmayne, I thought, as usual, is fantastic. He brings lots of screen presence in this, but in a very underrated way. So his presence is understated. His voice is quite soft. He doesn't really ever shout. I kind of wanted him just to let rip at moments, but I understood what his character was. But I really wanted him just to go kind of let rip. But there's this emotional moment towards the end when it comes to the culmination of the story, that I think that's where I was so emotionally gripped, because you go on this roller coaster ride, and when you get to that moment, you're like, yes, do it. Mark Rylance plays one of the lawyers for the 7 on trial, Wall 6, and I thought his performance was excellent. There are moments where you really feel what is his plight, the difficulty in his job of having to kind of circumnavigate the law, because the law is not with him, the judges are not with him, the FBI is not with him. Nobody seems to be with these people that have been unjustly accused of and I'm showing my bias, I would totally be on their side, obviously, but it just shows how sometimes the law isn't on your side, and you need you need someone that's willing to fight your case. And when he finally twigs that it's not just a prosecution case, that it is a political case, that's kind of when he switches gears. And in that moment, I wouldn't say entertained, because I was entertained thoroughly the whole way through, but I was so more invested. I was rooting for it. You know, that moment when you're sitting forward on the seat, even though all you're watching is people, talking in a court case room. I do love myself a good court case film, but this one just seemed to have so much weight behind it. The weight of this film, that the story that it's telling is more relevant now than it ever has been. I don't know if you know the history of this film either. It has been in production hell for years. Redmayne was signed on in 2012, but it's been going on even before that. I think in 2014 there is a book that was... There's a book about films that the greatest films you will never see, and this film is in there, and it's kind of been going in development hell. And Steven Spielberg was on to direct at one point. It's we've had loads of different actors that were assigned to it. Eventually, it got picked up, and there was a lack of funding, and Paramount got involved, and now Netflix is going to show it. So it's had this whole world. But it does seem like now is really the right time for this to come out, and it has a poignant message to get across. I would say be careful, once again, if you are influenced or easily put into a depression state because of injustices. If you're really affected by that sort of thing, maybe give it a miss. But I would say the performances alone for this film are worth watching. And then you have a script by Mr. Sorkin, and then you have a directing his characters, which he does so well. You just need to watch a court case scene from The West Wing, and you'll understand how good he is at kind of getting the characters and the actors to do what they want to do, and you get that feel. So even though this does feel like a great cinema film, it also feels like it could be an extended long TV episode. It feels at home at your home cinema, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give this a solid A. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this. Do you think it could have been better in any way? Do you enjoy these type of stories? Were you engaged when you watch it? Were you emotionally engaged like I was? Thanks so much for watching this review, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.